All right. Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to give it a minute to let folks in, log in, get settled.
Thanks so much for joining, everyone. We're going to get started shortly. Really excited to have you here today as part of our Bike Month celebration to learn about launching a bike bus in your communities. Until we get started, feel free. We've already dropped a few links in the chat of some of our panelists and their respective bike buses. They have videos of their bike buses and other resources that are cool to check out if you'd like while we're waiting. But yeah, we're going to get started in a couple minutes.
All right, how we feeling, team?
Let's wait. Yeah, let's wait one more minute and then we'll get started.
Yep.
Some people are still
joining.
Yep. Trickling in.
Yep. Couple more folks. Fantastic. Welcome, guys.
All right, Megan. I think yeah, I think we can get started.
Sounds good. So I want to start off by introducing myself really quickly. My name is Megan, and we want to welcome you all to the Rolling Together Launching a Bike Bus webinar. I am a sustainable mobility specialist, and so during the first 15 minutes here, our introductory presentation, you're going to be hearing from a few of us that are part of the New York State Department of Transportation Statewide Mobility Services program. Before we dive into the conversation with our panelists, and like Mag said, happy Bike Month to everyone. In fact, this year we are actually celebrating the 69th Bike Month, which was established in 1956 by the League of American Cyclists, which I did not know until this morning. So it's a long legacy that now you are all a part of. So as you listen and learn, please feel free to reach out to us. The chat is open. We'll share our contact information with you there, so that if you want to reach out to us and would like any assistance with all things sustainable travel, you can do so. Happy Bike Month, Sam. Yes. So we've got the slide deck up. How are we doing? Thank you, Max. Thank you. All right. So I want to move on to just some housekeeping. If you want to go to the second slide here. We have just some introductory reminders. All of you are muted and your video is disabled, but again, if you have any questions for us, for the panelists, you can include them in the chat. This event is being recorded, so if you want to share this with anyone after the fact, that's the link will be available. You can reach out to us for that. And I want to mention our disclaimer that the views expressed by, our speakers here during the SMS webinar, that those are of the speaker or the third party and might not necessarily reflect the views of 501 New York Rideshare or the New York State Department of Transportation. So with that, what we're going to get into today, we're going to actually hear from you all with a polling question that's going to pop up on your screen next. And then we'll tell you a little bit more about our program. We have some information about the bike bus movement to help set the stage. And then, of course, we'll move into the panel discussion and Q&A session with our New York State bike bus leaders. I'll go to the next slide. So we want to hear from you all. Where are you joining us from? Mira, you're going to go ahead and pop that poll. You all should be seeing a poll on your screen. We want to see kind of some of that representation from across the state or even maybe out of the state. Feel free to write in a response if you can. See where folks are calling in from. Are you all able to do this? Maybe we can see.
Yeah, I'm seeing some results, Megan.
Okay, I'm not seeing any results on my end. So. Oh, there we go. It's loading. It's loading. Yep.
Long Island, Woodside, New York City, Geneseo, Schuyler County, Brooklyn, Queens,
Idaho.
Rockland.
Calling in from Idaho.
Hey, it can be a multi-state movement here.
Yeah, for sure. I think some folks are posting in the chat too. I see Saratoga. Fantastic. I mean, it looks like we've got quite a good representation across the state. So that's fantastic. All right. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. So I want to tell you guys a little bit more about the NYSDOT Statewide Mobility Services Program, which is SMS for short. So the SMS program is completely free and provides transportation options and initiatives to organization and people in and all around New York. And so within the program is 501 New York Rideshare, which supports communities in finding easy, affordable, reliable, safe, and sustainable alternatives to driving alone. So while you're all here, as someone who wants to learn more about bike buses, you can also utilize our services for your commute or for your employers, your employees, because we do work with a variety of organizations from local government, transit agencies, universities, community-based organizations. So you can also kind of consider other ways that we might be able to provide assistance to you because, we do offer a wide range of tools and services to folks all across the state to travel more efficiently and sustainably. So I want to highlight quickly just a few of those services that we do provide. We have a ride matching system, so we can help people connect, with other folks who want to carpool together. We promote and support the use of park and ride lots to reduce solo driving. We work with employers and communities to support shared van pool programs, which are larger carpool programs for 5 or more folks who want to travel together. For folks who do use alternative like carpool or van pool, we do offer a backup ride home in case of an emergency. We provide technology resources as well and tools such as transit screens to help program partners offer site-specific transit solutions. We actually just completed a project with the New York Mets, who now have a real-time transit screen for folks, as they're leaving the stadium to better understand, when the next train or whatnot is coming. And importantly, we offer micromobility assistance like starting a bike bus or a bike borrow program, which does support a short trip using a bike instead of a car, just kind of making it easier for folks to access active transportation in their community. And so with that, I want to turn it over to my colleague Mira, who's going to talk a little bit about bike borrow, since this is Bike Month and it relates to the focus of our webinar. And so we want to lean into this topic a little bit more. So if you want to take it away, Mira, go for it.
Sure. Thanks, Megan. So hi, everyone. My name is Mira Sharif, and I'm excited to introduce to you our Bike Borrow program. It's part of our Statewide Mobility Services Program, SMS, and aims to enhance mobility and mobility options in underserved communities. So this program allows patrons of public libraries or community organizations to borrow bikes for free. It provides a valuable alternative in areas with very limited public transit. And as of May of last year, we've had several programs that have been launched with plans for expansion across the state. If you'll move to the next slide, please. So if you're interested in starting a bike borrow program of your own, these are some key steps that you should take, which include securing donated bikes from a local business or nonprofit, identifying a community-centered space to host the program, establishing a waiver system to ensure safety and accountability, implementing a check-in-out process that will help track bikes usage, arranging storage to protect bikes when they're not in use, and lastly, conducting marketing efforts to raise awareness and encourage participation. Okay, great. So I'm gonna launch another poll, and we'd like to see what motivated you to join this webinar. So you should see it in a moment.
Getting results, Mira. I think my computer is slow today.
Mine is too. I have 0, so.
Oh, there we go. School, kids, high school. People got children. Wonder if anyone's a teacher who's here. Oh, it doesn't seem the folks can see the responsive, but let you know what we're seeing. Yeah, school right now is the biggest reason. I think we're good with that. If we want to move along.
All right. Okay, let me just come off on video here. And I'll just stay on video for a little because I think my computer's freaking out a bit. But hi, everyone. I'm Max. I'm a transportation consultant on the Statewide Mobility Services team and excited to share with you some information and fun facts about bike buses. Okay, I'm going to go off video and then continue just to avoid any tech issues. So at a fundamental level, a bike bus is a group of students biking to school together along a set route, joined and protected by adults, kind of like a human-powered school bus. And bike buses can really vary in terms of frequency and time periods, but most bike buses ride at least on a weekly basis. However, many bike buses may pause operations during winter months or other periods of harsh weather. There's many bike buses active in New York State, including in New York City, in and around Buffalo, and in Geneseo, as you'll learn from some of our panelists today. as well as cities around the world, such as Portland and San Francisco and Barcelona and London and Melbourne. However, you do not need to be as much more into later on. In terms of size, some bike buses have well over riders, while others start small with just a few families. But one kind of consistency between bike buses is that they tend to grow once people see how much fun they are and the benefits that they provide to students. In fact, bike buses are so cool and fun that celebrities even want to take part. Recently, Justin Timberlake hopped on a bike bus in Portland during a promo tour, and the bike bus had over 200 students and parents, helping the movement gain some star-studded attention. So if you want to be like Justin, no need to cry yourself a river. Just take a look in the mirror and drop your suit and tie for some bike gear and say bye, bye, bye to those drop off and pickup lines. Okay, sorry about that. That'll be my last pun for the day. So the Statewide Mobility Services team, we've developed a bike bus landing page to support folks looking to start bike buses in their own communities. Megan just dropped in the chat. And on this page, you can find tips, tools, and route planning guides to support your bike bus. The page also has links to other bike buses in New York State and a step-by-step guide to really help you create bike buses in your communities. Ultimately, bike buses help students and parents commute safely due to having a critical mass of riders. They're really good course by reducing emissions, and many students behave better in school on days that they participate in a bike bus. Bike buses also foster a sense of community confidence for both students, teachers, and parents. And finally, they reduce traffic in school pickup and drop-off lines, which saves time and reduces idling and emissions in school zone areas. So lots of good reasons to join Bike Bus and to ride bikes in general as we celebrate Bike Month.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and I'll pass it back to Megan.
Yeah, thank you, Mira and Max, for sharing all of that. And so now, without further ado, I want to introduce our wonderful panelists who are here with us today. First, we have our moderator, Deepak. He works closely with the SMS team. He himself is involved with the bike bus in Washington, D.C. We have Hilda, who's here with the Bergen bike bus down in Brooklyn. Mike, who's with East Aurora, which is up near the Buffalo area. And last but not least, we have Keith joining us from Geneseo, which is up over near the Finger Lakes region of New York. So again, if you want to reach out to our team, you can go to the next slide. We've got some contact information there that we'll throw into the chat, which we'll be monitoring throughout. So if you have any questions for the panelists as well, please feel free to put it in there. And with that, Deepak, I'll turn it over to you.
Well,
I love your shirt, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, it's a good day to bike in the shirt. Hello, everybody. I'm Deepak Gopalakrishna. I'm with ICF. I'm actually in Washington, D.C., and I work closely with the SMS team on several NYSDOT mobility-related projects. But my primary reason for being here is I am a bike bus parent. I travel with my 8-year-old on a bike bus every Friday, including tomorrow. We bike with our immediate neighbors for about a mile and a half to a meeting point where we meet other families that are on different feeder routes, and we bike about half a mile together to the elementary school that he's part of. We've been doing this for about almost a year and a half or two now, and it's really the organizers. I am not the organizer. I'm merely a participant in the DC bike bus, but we've gotten up to 60 or so, 60, 70 kids and their families on a bike on some of the nice days. On a regular bike bus day like tomorrow, we might see about 30 students join the bike bus. And it always amazes me that when we have 30 students and their bikes and their parents, how little space we take up compared to 30 cars doing the same trip. And more than that, what really excites me is the joy that all these kids have and all of us. It certainly is a good day when we can do the bike bus. But I appreciate the opportunity to moderate, and I'll sort of have Hilda, Mike, and Keith introduce themselves, and I have a series of questions that'll help us walk through getting started and thinking about some of the issues around bike buses and the complexities and the challenges as well as the opportunity. Hilda, I'll go to you next, and then Mike, and then Keith.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm Hilda Cohen. I'm one of the founders and coordinators of the Bergen Bike Bus in New York City. We also created bikebus.nyc, which gives resource pages to other bike buses. We're trying to get as many bike buses across the city as possible. And our bike bus is a little different. We are not attached to a school. We're sort of a hop on, hop off, like a bus. And we do a 5-mile route in Bergen, on Bergen Street in Brooklyn.
Mike?
Hey, Mike Macaluso. I'm in East Aurora, New York, so I think it was already said we're just 20 minutes outside of Buffalo, New York. I organize our bike bus along with 2 other dads. We started it in April of 2024. We serve one elementary school. There's one in our town. It covers ages from grades from UPK to 4th grade. We run a single route. Ours is a little bit more simple than Hilda's. We're basically meeting on one side of town. We're riding 2 miles to school, and we're picking up a handful of kids on the way. So we started it last year in April, and really just found a couple other dads who are super excited about the idea, really interested, and mostly just like pounded the pavement of like, hey, we're trying to do this thing, and got like some people who were perplexed and didn't really understand it, and then some people who were interested, and we just every week kept adding kids until now. A year later, it's great. We have it set up. Everyone knows the deal. And we meet every Thursday morning. So we just did ours this morning, and we had a great ride.
Awesome. Great. Keith?
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Keith Walters. I'm in Geneseo, New York. We're about 25-30 minutes south of Rochester and an hour east of Buffalo, sort of Mike's neighbor. Yeah, we started a colleague of mine and I started Bike Bus back in May of 2023. So we're basically right up on 2 years of doing Bike Bus pretty consistently once a week, every Friday. We're biking about 2 miles, just a little under 2 miles from a central park in the village of Geneseo to the Geneseo Central School District. And I would say we're averaging anywhere between, low 20s to mid 30s consistently, depending on the weather, which is a huge growth for us. We started Bike Bus with, I think, 4 or 5 people 2 years ago. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Welcome. Well, I look forward to chatting with you. For participants in the webinar, please feel free to put any questions as we talk through the panel in the chat box. We will be using the last 10 minutes or so of this webinar to address any questions that we see as well. So I want to get started with a bike bus. So what I want to ask you all is, what inspired you to do this? What inspired you to launch a bike bus? What were some of the challenges you faced initially? Some barriers you had to kind of overcome? And then who did you turn to get in the community to get partnerships and support? So I'll start with you, Keith, and we'll work backwards with Mike and Hilda.
Sure. Meg and I saw a viral video circulating a couple of years back of Sam Balto, who organized the bike bus out in Oregon, and that's where you saw the Justin Timberlake reference. Yeah. But it was without Justin Timberlake. It just went viral on its own. And so that video was kind of all over social media. It was all over some major news networks. And Meg and I are big active transit users and just big proponents of getting around our very walkable village and other means than using an automobile. And we thought, you know what? why don't we try to figure out how to start this? And coincidentally, I think it was April of 2023, Sam Balto had put out like a call, like, hey, we're hosting this webinar about how to start your own bike bus. So we attended that webinar and we decided, all right, May will be the month that we start this. And it was just myself, Meg, and then we teamed up with a teacher at the school district, started putting out calls on social media, branded it as Geneseo Bike Bus, and it was really through word of mouth that we started to grow it. But that very first bike bus, it was literally just our kids, and it poured rain all morning. It was like 33 degrees, so it wasn't even like pretty snow. It was just horrendous, but we all had like a wonderful time. And then, yeah, I think some of the challenges, which I'm sure my fellow panelists will get into, is just how to grow it. And really, it's been through word of mouth and through teaming up with the teachers at the school district. They're like the secret sauce to get the message out, and they're super enthusiastic. They have all the connections, all of the communication channels. So really, teaming up with the teachers has been a huge plus for us. And then lastly, just safety. Safety always poses a challenge, but you can definitely find a way around it. So
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Keith. Mike, and then Hilda.
Thanks. Probably similar to Keith. My inspiration, I think Sam Balto said the same thing. I saw a video maybe around COVID of a Bici bus in Spain around like 2021. And my kids were still young at the time, but I was like, man, this is so cool. Like, I would love to do this once my kids get of age. And so I tossed the idea around for a couple of years. But then we had a bike to school in I guess it was 2023. It wasn't very organized. One dad I knew and another dad who introduced us, and I was like, hey, I love this idea. And same thing for one of our co-organizers. So we said, all right, let's work on it over the winter, and then early spring we'll organize it and we'll start it. So we started off with 4 families. It was basically just like people who I know had kids at the school who like bikes. And I think like along with Keith's co-organizer, you just need like 1 person, 2 people who are into it. I think it's a tough road to go alone. It's like a little bit, it's still kind of like a fringe idea. It's a little wacky. But if you have a couple of people who are down, like, I feel like you can kind of do anything. My experience is split a bit from Keith's in that like we don't get any support from our school district. They just like don't really want to be involved, which is fine. I went to the PTA to look for some help. They didn't really understand it. It could have been my delivery. But the school's largely been like kind of agnostic to it. I think that was like a good thing to just sort of like understand from the start that we were on our own, and that was totally fine. So like we started with traditional media, like our town paper did. We basically we took the first 3 weeks and we were like, let's just work on getting people to show up. And then week 4 was National Bike to School Day. So we'll have that organized by then. And it was like perfect. The pitch to our local paper was like, the week before actually was like, hey, come week 3, we have all these kids riding, and then you can publish a story for Bike to School Day, which is perfect. By that point, the news, like the sort of like Buffalo News Network was like, oh, we're looking for a story on Bike to School, and they came to us right away. So like we basically had to figure out a way to get the word out around, like teachers were like not even really allowed to like talk about it in school. So that was more motivation to kind of like get around it. And so that like brings us to now where like it's such a part of the community that it's fine. Like I don't think if you have a gym teacher riding, that's amazing, right? Like they're such an influence for the kids, but I also don't think that you need 100% buy-in from the school district either. So that's where we're at. I think the inspiration was online, and I think the growth mostly comes from word of mouth, community support, and like social and traditional media have been really helpful for us.
Sounds good. Hilda, what inspired you to start a bike bus?
Yeah, those videos, definitely.
Yeah.
And so I came about it sort of backwards. My co-founder is a public school teacher who created Earth Day Ride with her school, and she's not her kids don't ride in the bike bus, but so she was thinking, why can't we do this for more than just this school, because it's very, you know, it's tough that way. And my youngest is now 19, and I ran and coordinated Critical Mass NYC. So we would run kids rides on the weekends for, I think I did that for about 5 years back in until about 2017, 2019. And so through word of mouth, I'm still a big advocate in New York City. She got in touch with me, and we created the Bergen Bike Bus, which it was not so hard to start. We had a lot of advocacy groups and a lot of people who really want to have something like this happen. The hard part, the real challenge, is keeping it going, because we're not associated with only one school in particular. You know, sometimes parents go to a different school and the route changes, and so the way we've coordinated and really made it grow, lots of social media, lots of resources, and lots of volunteers. So we have this group of about 30, sometimes 60 volunteers. A lot of them are in their 20s who just love to ride and find a lot of joy. And then also the word of mouth through the parents. If someone wants to come in, they have to be their point person for that school, because we just don't have the bandwidth to do it. We give them a whole toolkit, resources. This is how you reach out to your administrator. And because New York City, as a parent with riding to school, you have to be completely invested. You have to find a place for your bike. You have to get your kid home after school with the bike. So it's a little bit more complicated. So we try to spread that out, and it's worked really well. And we now have this group of volunteers who know what to do. And we sort of say, you want to start a bike bus, we've got 5 or 6 volunteers that can help you get started. And so they'll go out. We've now done this for about 4 different bike buses, and we have ours is on Wednesday. We have another one on every day Friday. They go out to North Brooklyn on once Friday a month. So it's like, and people move, and so they join another bike bus. It's been so word of mouth, advocacy, and just delegating. Those have been a lot of what keeps us going.
Yeah, great. This is fantastic. I actually just want to maybe switch the order of questions a little bit and focus a little bit more on some of the tactical safety and logistics portions first, because I see some of the questions. And when I was a initial parent bike bus rider, these were the things that really, like, well, how do we ensure safety? How do we ensure there's nobody coming from the cross street? So I wanted to, this is for all of you. You can take it in whichever order you want. What safety measures do you set up? How do you build sort of that safety factor in these bike buses, both from a rider perspective, but also like managing the interactions with traffic? So thoughts on some of the safety stuff, and then we'll talk about the logistics of dealing with bikes and kids' bikes. So we'll start with safety. Keith, Mike, Hilda, who wants to go first?
I can kick it off here. Yeah, for safety, we've grown to a pretty good size now where we typically have anywhere from like 4 to 6 parent or adult riders. Some of them happen to be teachers, but when we leave the park in the morning, we kind of have it down now where people have been riding long enough where we know where those sort of areas of potential conflict points could be. So we'll have every sort of chaperone bike bus adult they'll be wearing like a yellow vest with our bike bus like logo on it, and they'll sort of just block off an intersection. They'll just insert themselves, and you see this really long line of kids coming through, and it's just like, here we are. You just kind of be in their face, and you just make sure there's an adult either out in front at all times. And we tell our kids, like, you cannot go in front of an adult at any time. You need to wait for us at all intersections. And so along the route, we kind of sort of preempt any of those potential conflict zones. And then we've also done things like we've set up bikes, like bicycle checks, where on non-bike bus days on a weekend, we've had like a safety check at the park where we invite everyone to come, and to the best of our ability, because we don't have a bike shop, we're looking over kids' bikes. We had a couple bikes to swap out that were just donated that people could swap if they needed to go up in size. And then of course we make sure everyone's wearing a helmet. And then we're really just trying to be loud and visible for people, and the high vis vests definitely help, but there's nothing like seeing a line of 20 to 30 kids like right there. There's safety in numbers for sure, but that shouldn't discourage anyone, because we did it when we were a group of 5, and I think the adult supervision and the forethought of like a route planning is key for safety. So
Sounds good. Hilda and Mike, any thoughts?
Sure. We really have developed a system, because we are riding, if you've seen the bike lanes that are literally 3 or 5 feet, they're painted protection, and that's our ride. That's our route. We've got buses and trucks and people who turn in front of us. We've got parked cars in our bike lane. So we have a system. We have the people in charge, and part of their job is, what happens when you've got this group of 60 and the light changes. So they're slowing people down so that we all can stay together. We've got the boxer ends, because if we have a kid, we have a point person, so that there's always someone next towards traffic side. We've got our corkers, our blockers, so that the intersections, and we try to be, we try not to be hostile. It's kind of hard not to, but our motto is, if you don't have anything to say, or if you have something to say, just say good morning. And that does help a lot. And then we also have caboose, middle of the pack as well, but caboose, making sure no one gets dropped. And then what we also do, because we get to be big, 60, 65 people with all of our volunteers, all of our parents, we got a lot of cargo bikes, but we sometimes, like last week, beautiful weather, I think we had about 20 kids on their own bikes, and most of them were probably not older than 8. We have two that ride on their own without the parents, which in Brooklyn is one of those things. There's not that many of them. And they're about 12 now. But it's like a machine. We're all on the ball, and we're all looking all the time. We all wear a uniform, and then I've also created these sort of signs, because people sometimes are just like, we don't know what you're doing. And so I've hand lettered these signs that says bike bus, kids riding to school. And it helps. It does help a lot. There's always someone who has to show their priority on a street, etc. But it becomes fewer and far between. And the best part is that the school buses that these kids might otherwise be on are sometimes passing us, and our kids can wave to their friends that are on this bus, and they see them, and they're just like, and next week we'll have more kids, because they're like, I want to do that. So it's just joyful. It's joyful.
Yeah. And it's surprising how the volunteer approach and knowing whatever they still handle the safety. Mike, any other thoughts to add?
Yeah, I think last year at this time we definitely struggled with the safety thing. We started off with maybe 10 kids and 4 or 5 adults, and now we average about 75 kids on Thursday mornings. It's just a big group. And last year it would be every week we'd have 15 more, and it just changes the way that you have to do safety. So I think the first thing, this is pretty tactical, is just pick the route that helps you out the most. Stay off big streets, look at intersections, ride them by yourself at night, think about it, and just start with whatever route you think keeps you off main roads, that kind of thing. The other thing that we've done that we've grown into is we've basically taken a group of adults and we send them before the kids. So we have grandparents, we have parents, we have people who are just excited to ride bikes in the community. If they're ever interested, I'm like, come, I'll set you up. You're going to work, but you'll be a part of it. So I've been able to just come up with a group of people. And what we do is we cut off our, when we're launching, we cut off where we need to be. And then that group of 10 or 12 go ahead of us. and they start to like close streets. And as we go through, then they like will kick back and they'll come and they'll block off the next one. So we can get through town like really efficiently. It wasn't always like that though. Like we had to grow into that. We would like stage people, but they'd get back too slow. So that's been really beneficial, and we've grown into that. I think the other thing is like you just need reps like between you as the leader, but also like the kids riding. Like you think about this, like when would they ride in a group other than like some special exceptions? So last year, like we would have mornings where we would have 5 crashes, like kids just not paying attention, and like it's totally fine. And like it was really stressful. We were like, is this even gonna work? Like this is crazy. This year though, like it's totally different. The kids like give each other space. They are like really conscientious of like where they're putting their bike. When we have cars coming, like we're all talking to each other. So everyone's like, I've gotten better at it. My co-founders have gotten better at it. The kids have gotten better at it. That's for safety. Like we figured that like that's just the best thing that works for our group right now. In a month, maybe it'll change, and we're open to that. And so that's been the biggest thing. Specifically for kid safety, what we do every week is like we'll talk in a group on like, it's hard because like we have a caboose like as well. I'm at the front, we have someone in the middle, and so the organizers don't always see the same thing. And so like I'll see something where I'm like, kids started hopping on sidewalks. So we do a safety talk before every ride, and we'll just pull 1 or 2 things. Like you can't we're talking to kids who are like, I mean, as young as 4 to 9. So like, we're not going to like barrage them with like 10 safety things each week. It's like 1 thing and hammer it from last week, and the kids get better. Like there was no kids on sidewalks today. It was great, right? Like we talked about it this morning. They were refreshed. So for us, it's been like an open mind to growth and like how you move the kids safely through your town or city. And then also just like hammering on some safety points that you want to get across every week. And I think like that growth just builds on itself.
Yeah, and I think in DC, just I think the term that we use is it's not a race, it's a parade. And that has been sort of something that we've really told the kids that you don't need to race and you always have to be behind. And then the other thing that has been surprisingly effective is we use a big Bluetooth boombox, and we play music along the bike bus, and it makes us loud and visible to a lot of the cars, and that's been helpful as well. I did want to kind of address to get the panel to maybe talk a little bit more about some of the logistics, and then I think a question about liability in rural areas. So I'll just take them in order. I kind of the other question that I think a lot of parents and organizers typically have is what happens in the afternoon? You've got them all to school on a bike bus. Now you have all these bikes, they're parked. I don't know, there's aftercare and all these situations. Can you talk a little bit about the logistics of dealing with bike storage, bike retrieval, and sort of, do you all do an evening bike bus? What are some thoughts on that?
I can start. I just came on our bike bus. There was bikes everywhere. So I don't know. I think in the community, like Keith and Hilda maybe agree, like it's just too hard. Like everyone's doing different stuff. I think Sam Baltos talked about this a little bit. Like I think honestly, I've just come to embrace it. Like part of the magic is just seeing kids riding bikes home. Like they're all doing their own thing, and that's okay. So yeah, we thought about it, but it was just a little bit too daunting for us.
Got it. Hilda?
Absolutely can't do it, but we do advocate. So, we get onto a panel like this, or we end up talking to people. So we have a number of advocacy points that we're working on with the city. And one of them is because the Bergen Street, Brooklyn has a twin that goes the opposite direction. Bergen is a single direction. Sometimes it's as wide as 40 feet. Sometimes it's as wide as 20. Still parked cars on both sides all along, but and so we've advocated to have the twin road also become sort of like a bike boulevard. Yeah. That's our way of trying to have an afternoon. We can't do it. It's just so beyond us. And but I can say that when my kids were going to public school, we got really good at ghost riding, I guess. I don't remember what you call, or where you ride along with your kid's bike and your kid's not on it. Yep. And half the time what we would do is if they had an after school, we would ride it to their next spot, lock it there, and then they would get transferred over, and then that's where we would pick them up at the end of the day.
That's awesome.
And that worked, but it's tough. You can't always do it, or you make a second trip, or you get, so that helped for us.
Yeah, and then I did want to so for parking for all of you, did you all work with the schools to set up extra bike racks or places to park?
Yeah.
Keith?
Yeah, so and this kind of ties into what Mike was saying earlier about the buy-in from the school. We did have teachers at the very beginning who did it with us, but I also want to emphasize our school also was like, like we don't really, not that they don't support it, but they're like, we can't really back this, because they weren't really sure what it was. So we just sort of demonstrated to them that there was like a want to do this, and as we grew and as we ran out of like bicycle racks, we were able to work with the school and to secure some extra bike racks, but they did not put them together for us. Our lovely teacher spent the weekend putting them together. A lot of that sentiment has sort of flipped. Like now that Bike Bus has been like a thing in Geneseo for over a year, going on 2 years, the school is now helping us distribute flyers and do stuff like that. But and we do also run a Bike Bus home in the afternoon. It's a lot less kids because kids are doing a lot of different things. And in that event, it's the parents know to coordinate with their kid, with their teachers, with their after sports, whatever theater, to pick them up and their bike on their own. So I would say like we get half the kids biking back in the afternoon.
Yeah, sounds good. So there's just a lot of interesting questions in the chat as well. So I'm going to pick up each one, and we're going to have like maybe one person in the panel answer that. Maybe a question, I think one important question, and I think Hilda, it looked like you're looking into this. What is the approach on liability for each? And maybe this everybody can maybe have a short answer as well. Do you have any approach to handling liability, and what would be your recommendation?
Yeah, so we coordinated with an advocacy group in New York City, Transportation Alternatives. And they created a sort of a liability waiver, which is part of our sign up. So in the way that if you have, like I could show you the link, we have sort of links on how, because we go along and we just pick up people and drop them off. We don't always connect with them. We don't always know what school they're at. We get some of this data, but we don't parse in the right way. So it's a liability waiver, and it's also a photo release waiver. And it's simple. It's like maybe a short paragraph. If you sign up to join and get info and get asked to go on our WhatsApp, which is how we communicate, then you have to sign the waiver, and it's for you and your kids. And it's literally a checkbox. It's not a waiver. It's an online form, and that works really well. But we do have for photos. Because we also want to respect and make sure that our parents know we get news and newspapers and journalists. We've had people come from Japan, and it's so we want notification, and we give out notification if there's going to be photographs and photography and video. Most everyone's okay with it, and if not, then we ask them to just be aware. And then we ask that there's no faces or something like that. And it's because that's also a liability you just don't want to have go wrong.
And Hilda, if you want to put those links or anything, that would be fantastic, I think, there. And then Keith and Mike, thoughts on liability would be welcome. But if you can then pick up a little bit on maybe a question that's I think that all of us have to deal with. What do you do with kids that misbehave or mess around too much?
I mean, I can talk to that. I have some crazy fourth graders. Liability, we're still figuring that out. We're like looking to pair with, similar to Hilda, like I think it's hard to just have a standalone bike bus. Like we've talked to like a ton of insurance brokers, and like I think there's definitely a path to it. And I think it's probably one of the things that other bike bus leaders struggle with the most from what I've seen. And like there's a community of us who talk and exchange notes. And I think that's probably the hardest thing. It's like if you don't have someone to sponsor you, you got to raise some money, but then you're like in the fundraising situation where you have an insurance policy. So I don't know. I think the rails aren't totally there yet unless you have someone who's, able to hold that waiver. So that's something we're actively, I think if you can solve for it though, it like opens up a lot of opportunities like to work with schools and like, they want you to have your own events insurance, that kind of thing. So that's something like probably like one of our top things that we're working on this year. As far as kids misbehaving, I lead our bike bus. I'm in the front. Like I said, we're riding with kids who are 4 or 5 years old up to 9 and almost 10. So we have some really strong riders, kids who like want to go fast. And I mean, I think it's just like, we just take it one kid at a time. Like I'll take them to the side and just say, hey, like, look, it's a serious thing. It's a safety thing. I'm kind of responsible here. I want you to continue to ride in the bike bus. I want this to be fun, but if you can't do this anymore, like we'll, not a full threat, but like, look, like you can't cut through an intersection like that. So, I'm a coach in our town, so I know a lot of the kids, which really helps. But yeah, like they do get like rambunctious. Like we play music too, and I want it to be fun, and I just don't want to get carried away. But I do obviously have a huge responsibility to keep them safe. So, yeah, we've had some like small incidents, but like kids seem to be eager enough to stick with it, be involved, and they usually correct next week. So,
yeah. Keith, any thoughts?
Yeah, also I echo that. Something that we've talked about, but we haven't quite gotten our hands wrapped around it yet, in terms of liability, and similar approach with a kid acting out. It really is on a case-by-case basis, and for the most part, knock on wood, we've been seeing pretty good behaviors from our riders. So maybe it's because we have a couple teachers there to help keep them in line. So.
Yeah. Well, I do want
to. When our phys ed teacher comes like once a year, all the kids are like so much better behaved. Like this guy's a rock star. I'm like, you should come every week because this is really helpful.
Yeah. And I do want to spend a little bit. We've had a theme on some of these questions around a bike bus in a rural area, and I think your thoughts on panel's thoughts on that would be good. And I think there's some interesting things about how do you change some of your practices, like for example, riding on a sidewalk versus rural roads where there's more higher speed car traffic. So we just wanted to get a sense of. If you think about rural areas, what would be some of the approaches that you would recommend or offer up as ideas for somebody considering a bike bus there? I'll leave it to whoever wants to jump in.
Yeah, so we're pretty rural in Geneseo, and I think one of the things you could do is identify like a central meeting point. If parents wanted to drop their kids at a park like we do, we have a park right in the center of the village, which is about 2 miles from the school. So we'll have parents either drop via vehicle their kid and their bike at the park, or we also have feeder routes. So parents who are, biking to the park, we have a map sort of posted every once in a while on our Instagram page, notifying people like the approximate time that the riders will be coming by to pick you up to meet at the park. And I think giving people that ability to maybe meet halfway so they're not biking a super long distance on wide roads that don't have like physical protection, that's one way to get around it. And yeah, I don't know if Mike or Hilda has anything to add.
Yeah, I think we're probably similar setup to Geneseo. We have like a really great walkable village, but we get rural like very quickly. I'd say half of our school population is in like a rural area. And it's the same thing. It kind of just came naturally as like it was a more attractive thing for kids to do, where like we have pickup trucks rolling up in the morning, like kids hopping out, bikes, that kind of thing. If where you live is like truly rural and you don't have, like, for us it's such an advantage to have like a couple square miles of like walkable neighborhood. If you truly don't, I would recommend to there's a bike bus Slack where a lot of bike bus leaders trade notes. It's a great place to like pop into, and like I'm happy to invite you. There's so many people with so many like varying terrains. Like I would probably pose that question there or search the Slack, because that's where a lot of this stuff is being worked on, and like I've personally benefited from it a lot, and I think you might as well. So if this is okay, I'll throw my email in the chat, and feel free to email me and I'll invite you.
That'd be awesome. I think Catherine, that was a question that you asked. So that'd be great. I similar to, I know DC is not rural, but we do have very similar experiences where people who live further away from the school come drive to the pickup point and their kids want to bike in. So that's been actually, we see that quite a bit even in urban areas. So that's great. We're at 4:55. I did want to give you all sort of the final word before we turn it back to the organizers. And I wanted to ask, what have you seen as sort of community impacts around the bike bus, and where do you see it going for your bike bus in the near future? So we'll start with you, Hilda, Keith, and Mike. So Hilda, what's been some of the biggest change in the community or impact, and then where do you see it going in the next few years?
Well, we have grown. I mean, my favorite saying, of course, is that an empty bus is still a bus. We're visible, and we don't always get kids until sort of a farther section away, but we've just grown. More people see us, more people come along. We get commuters who just don't want to bike alone, and we go kind of slow. We go pretty slow, actually, but it's fun. And I think with the advocacy points, we've really started to push the needle with our city, our local city, New York City DOT. They're starting to look at more ways, more school streets have been established so that there's not car traffic during school drop-off. Sometimes even for the whole day, they get to have that street as a playground. So I think there's been impacts, not just directly from us, but we're riding that wave of momentum, of change, of making our streets happier and safer and more accessible. So I definitely see that. Yeah.
Thanks, Hilda. Keith?
Yeah, going off of that point, I think the biggest thing that we've seen has been the advocacy. We've grown as well in like safety in numbers, but also just being visible to the community, and kids riding to school, having a great time. And then the bike bus participants actively going to local governments, so the village board, and requesting like safer streets and safer ways to get to school. And for instance, we have the last stretch of our 2-mile ride is not great. We have to actually go onto like a grassy walking path, and when it's like dewy and wet, the kids, they're just like trudging through it. They're pushing their bikes, and we've been able to work with the local government to say, like, look, there's a demonstration here of need. Can you work with us? And they've committed to finish paving that whole section to the school. And that school district's been there for like 45 years, and that connectivity has lacked. And really, I think it was Bike Bus that pushed the needle. And so the advocacy is it's like the most fun form of advocacy for sure. So.
Yep. I'm just, and Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, I think we are probably all on the same page here. I love the independence that it gives kids to, like, my kids would never ride their bikes to school before we started this, and now it's like second nature. Like they had a mental block of like, I can't do this, and like now I can. So I think for like independence and like getting kids outside, it's like such a boon for our community. I also love the cross-pollination opportunities. Like people are so kind when they see kids. Like you can dwell on the angry driver or whatever, but like that's such a minority compared to like people who are like haven't had kids in school in 20 years, like just love watching us. I think just like the visibility is, like the stuff that we love from social, to see it in your community is such a special thing. So I think there's that. Like the kids just have so much fun. It's awesome. Like we just had such an energetic morning today, and like what a great way to like send kids to school. So yeah.
And Mike, to that point, it's always amazing to see how many people in cars are smiling at us. I know there's
Totally.
always this one
Yeah.
thing. It's kind of people are happy to see a bike bus,
Yep.
and that is quite awesome. I think we've gone through. There was I'm looking through any questions to see if I've missed any. Just maybe one a quick maybe tactical questions. Have you had any police escorts for any of your bike buses? Actually, in DC, we had it once, and it was actually quite lovely. The community
It's
wanted to
so
do it,
nice.
but
We had one last week for National Bike and Roll to School Day, or yeah, last Wednesday, and then we had one at the very last day of the last day of school last spring. So yeah.
yeah, we and our police. It was their community development thing. They were actually critical. They were some of them were on bikes too. It was the kids were
Yeah.
super thrilled about that. So.
We do a ride once per, like in the spring and the fall when they have their send off to summer, which is their school picnic on the third Tuesday or Thursday night, and then they have a fall fest. So for those, we get the fire department involved. And if you've ever been like stressed out about planning a route for like 100 kids, and then all of a sudden the chief of your fire department gives you a minute by minute schedule on when every road is going to be closed, there's like no relief like it. Like it's so awesome. They put 2 rigs in front, 1 in back, and then all of the firefighters not on a rig wear full flat gear and they ride bikes with the kids.
Yep.
So fun. So yeah, huge fan of that. I wish it was every week, but unfortunately they're busy, so I respect that.
Sounds good. Well,
And,
thank
well,
you. Go ahead, Elda.
I was just going to say this is going to sound a little off, but we're in our 3rd year, and during our 2nd year, we finally got the local police precinct that we bike by to stop parking in the bike lane for a year, for at least 4 or 5 months, and then they changed commanding officer, and so now they're back to it. So we don't.
Oh.
It's not really it doesn't work for us.
Well, again, thank you, Hilda, Keith, Mike. Again, thanks for all the wonderful organizing and work you do. It's again, for those of you, if you haven't been on a bike bus, it is one of the most fun things you can do with your kids in the morning. So, Megan, Max, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This was fantastic. We're a couple minutes over, but if anyone wants to put their email in the chat or share any sort of last minute questions, we can kind of get back to you with that. If you want to put your name and email, we're here to help. If anyone wants to start a bike bus, feel free to kind of throw that in there. We're going to throw our contact information there. I know that there's been some back and forth. Keith, I think you threw your email in there, or Mike. So I think that's where we're at. Max, anything else you want to add while we close out with everyone?
Nope. No, other than thank you to Deepak and Mike and Keith and Hilda. Incredible to hear your perspectives today, and hopefully we inspired some more bike buses to be launched. That's definitely the goal. So reach out if you're interested in starting a bike bus, and we'd love to help.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, y'all.
Yep. Thank you all.
Take care, everyone. Happy Bike
Thanks,
Month.
everyone.